Okay, another topic that we think you can get some points back on from this Unit 2 test deals with rotating points and then determining angles of rotation. So if we look at this diagram right here, you have an example of a flag that gets rotated in a clockwise direction. So a couple things to remind you about. There's two different directions of rotation. There's clockwise and then there's counterclockwise. Well, remember that clockwise is always negative and counterclockwise is always positive. Those are just rules that you have to memorize. So when you're determining the angle of rotation, you have to determine two things. You have to determine the size of it, the measure of the angle, and you have to determine the direction. In this case, you can see that this flag got rotated this direction, which is clockwise, so it would be negative. And since it's negative 50 or it's 55 degrees clockwise, the official answer here that we would look for on Khan Academy or on a quiz or a test would be negative 55. The center of rotation is here. So when they ask you to determine this, what you would do is you would pick out corresponding points. And then when you draw a segment from the pre-image point through the center of rotation to the image point, you can see what that angle is, and then it's up to you to make the best estimate as to what it is. Okay, let's actually try some here. So I have triangle XYZ and X prime, Y prime, Z prime. So we start off with the blue one because it doesn't have the primes. So I'm just going to randomly start with point Y. So if I start with point Y and I draw a segment from Y to the origin, because I'm rotating around the origin, and then I draw one from the origin out to Y prime, because that's the image point, I can see that I went this direction. That is clockwise, so that means my answer is going to be negative, and now it's up to me to determine what that angle of rotation is. To me, that looks like it's about 90 degrees, so my official answer, without having multiple choice in front of me, would be negative 90 degrees. I went this direction, and I can see that my angle looks like it's approximately, if not exactly, a 90-degree angle. Next one, let's try another one. Let's start with point H. All right, so if I go with point H, I'm going to put a point here and draw a line to the origin. And then I go from the origin out to the image point. So from the pre-image to the origin to the image. So I can see I went this way. That is counterclockwise, so that is positive. And then if I look, my angle looks like it's about 9 degrees, maybe a little bit less. So my estimate for this one would be maybe 85 degrees. You might think it's a right angle. You might think it's a little more, a little less. Somewhere in the ballpark of 90 degrees, I think would be a proper answer. But you have to make sure it's positive. Now, the other type of question they could ask you here is that you have to actually go and rotate the points yourself. So what if I asked you to rotate point Z, rotate Z, let's go negative 90 degrees about the origin. So if we rotate Z negative 90 degrees, this is where our L's come in. So I'm going to draw an L from the origin to Z. So I'd have to go up 3, right 1. If I'm going negative 90 degrees, I have to remember that's clockwise. We always focus on the part of the L that's sitting on the axis. So it's this one right here. Let me go a different color. So I need to focus on this portion of the L right here because that's sitting on the positive y-axis. When I rotate this thing negative 90, I know it's clockwise, so I'm going this way. So I need to move this one on the positive x-axis now. It rotated 90 degrees this direction. So if I'm in my map walking, I'm walking, I'll go a different color here. I have to turn to the right to get to Z. So if I'm walking, I have to turn to the right to get to my brand new point. And my brand new point would be right here at 3, negative 1. So that is rotating Z negative 90 degrees, which happens to be clockwise. Well, let's try another one. What if we rotate, let's rotate point Y. Let's rotate it 180 degrees. So Y is 180 degrees. So if I draw my L, I'm going to go this way this time. So I need to focus on this part of the L because that's sitting on the positive x-axis. If I rotate that thing 180 degrees, I'm not going to stop here. It doesn't matter direction. I'm not going to stop here. I got to keep going over in this direction, which means I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units this way. If I'm walking in my map, I'm walking, I have to turn to the left to get to point Y. So walking, I turn to the left and I have to travel 3 blocks, 1, 2, 3, which puts me right here at my final point for Y prime, which is at negative 5, negative 3.